1. Intro. I'll be real with you. I thought Brexit was dumb. The UK walked away from the world's largest trading bloc. Lost trade. Higher costs. More red tape. And ironically, even more immigration. It looked like slow-motion self-sabotage. But I was wrong. Because in Trump's brutal new tariff war, something no one expected happened. Brexit Britain just pulled off its biggest win yet. A surprise win. And potentially, a long-term one. Let me show you how. 2. The Brexit dream, control and sovereignty. Back in 2016, the rallying cry was everywhere: take back control. Brexit wasn't just about trade, it was about borders, identity, and sovereignty. People wanted to stop the flow of EU workers, reclaim national laws, and strike their own deals. But here's the twist. In 2022, the UK recorded net immigration of over 745,000, the highest ever. That's nearly triple the 2014 number before Brexit. Why? Because Britain still needed labor, just not from the EU anymore. 3. The Brexit cost. Economy took a hit. The economic damage was real. UK goods exports to the EU dropped 15% in the first 2 years post-Brexit. Border delays added 3 to 5 hours to cross-channel freight. Perishable goods like fresh seafood spoiled before reaching restaurants. Estimated over 1/3 of UK SMEs that exported pre-Brexit simply stopped. UK GDP growth fell behind EU averages. And according to the UK's own Office for Budget Responsibility, Brexit will leave the economy about 4% smaller by the mid-2030s than if the UK had stayed in the EU. A permanent loss, baked into the system. And London? Even lost its crown to Paris in 2022 as Europe's biggest stock market. For years, Brexit looked like a national-owned goal. But then came Trump. 4. Trump's tariff war, the global shakeup. In 2025, Trump came back swinging, and he brought his favorite weapon, tariffs. Japan, hit with 15% auto tariffs, folded fast. EU, slammed with 15% tariffs and forced to buy $1.3 trillion in investment and buying US energy, food, and weapons. South Korea, same tariff, plus $350 billion in new US investment pledges. It was a global trade earthquake. But one country stood out, not just surviving, but winning: the United Kingdom. 5. The Brexit advantage, UK's solo deal with Trump. How did the UK pull this off? Simple: Brexit gave it the freedom to act alone. No EU bureaucracy and no 27-country compromise. In May 2025, the UK became the first major country to sign a bilateral deal with Trump. And it was, by far, the best deal Trump gave anyone. 10% baseline tariff on most UK goods, locked in. 0% tariffs on UK steel, aluminum, and aerospace parts, while others face 25% to 50% tariff-free access for Rolls-Royce engines and defense tech. No forced buy American quotas, unlike the EU. While Brussels stalled and squabbled, the UK secured preferential treatment and locked it in. 6. Long-term impact. UK set to attract more investment than EU. What does this mean going forward? One word: investment. Multinationals now face a choice: Germany, weighed down by high tariffs and sluggish EU negotiations. Or Britain, with a direct pipeline to US markets and the freedom to move fast. Where do you build? Where do you hire? And today, the UK, once mocked for Brexit, just became the safer, more agile bet in Europe. 7. Closing. So yeah, Brexit looked like a disaster. And to be fair, it was, for a long time. But life's funny like that. Sometimes your worst decision opens the door to your best opportunity, if you stay flexible, and if you play it smart. That's exactly what Britain did. It took the pain of Brexit, and turned it into a geopolitical win. Not because Brexit was brilliant, but because when the moment came, the UK used its freedom wisely. And in Trump's tariff war, that made all the difference. 8. Final. If you want calm, clear breakdowns of global power plays, like, comment, and subscribe. And drop your take in the comments. Was Brexit finally worth it? Or just a lucky break? See you next time on Twin Peaks Bridge Reflection.